hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world today, you are in a good place. And I'm delighted to introduce my guest today, Patricia Burlaud, who I have met through BNI, Business Networking International. And I'm going to talk to her about her life today. She's had an amazing life, absolutely fantastic. But before we get into that, I just want to give a little shout out to our #1 fan. So Ross Saunders, you're in Norfolk, England today. So a big hello from me. And I think Patricia wants to say hello.
Yes, hello to everyone, especially to Ross, of course.
So much. Okay. All right. Well, so we met through BNI and you are in the BNI Metro chapter, right?
That's correct. Yes.
You're the education coordinator.
Yes, it's a relatively new chapter, a few months old, and we are in the growing phase of our chapter. And it's a very exciting moment when most of the people that we have here are very proud to be able to sit in a founder seat, in this chapter. So it's always a really special feeling that we are having. Yes.
Very good. Well, you definitely got the right role within the chapter, being an education coordinator, because you are an educator and have had a fantastic career. And I know we'll get into that later. But you've brought all that experience into your new kind of role as an executive coach, and an executive coach with a global flavour. So what does that mean for our audience? Tell us about that.
Yes, I would say for me, being a sort of a global executive coach is a perfect intersection between, I would say, what we call a global consultant, meaning that someone who is advising and consulting with executives around the world, with generally people who have an international footprint. So this is a kind of a thing that consultants do, just making sure that all the I's have their dots and the T's have their cross. When it comes to make sure about the operation of such businesses or companies. And on the other hand, this is an intersection with my leadership coaching itself, where I try to not really advise too much, but making sure that we can analyze together with those leaders what they already have, what kind of key skills and tools they have already but maybe not have been discovered yet, and to use to their advantage. So having those two elements makes really what I call the leadership coaching with a global flavor.
Global flavor. I love it. I love that phrase. Now, your background and your career, I mean, you really caught my attention when we were in BNI. You won't mind if I tell people, I mean, your occupation and your skill is magnificent. I mean, you're a nuclear physicist. For a woman to be in that job description and doing that kind of work, and you'll talk about your background in a moment. It's just absolutely awesome to me. And I was so pleased to meet you. So talk about, your background, your career. I know this has all led you to become, a global executive coach. So just tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yes, well, it's a long one because, I was born in Paris, France. Yes. A little bit more than 20 years ago, obviously, as you can see, but that's okay. And in fact, my first career was quite different. It was a career in nuclear physics, more specifically in corpuscular physics, analyzing this kind of thing like what is inside a nuclear and a quark, things like that. Yeah. Working with big accelerators. So I was teaching in Paris at the Sorbonne and in the Collège de France, and I was doing my research mostly close to the largest accelerators in Europe at that time, and they were in Russia. So that was an interesting kind of a jet professor career in a sense. Amazing.
Amazing.
And that was very, it was an upbeat kind of a moment in my life, because when you are a young researcher, around 25 or so years old, it was the kind of vibe that you can see right now, maybe in bioengineering those days. And so it was exactly this kind of mood, and be on the frontier of the knowledge of the secret of matters was something which was very exciting to me. After that, and I was also working with a couple of Nobel Prize, and that was also an enormous opportunity to work with people who seem so humble in their daily life, and were the brightest mind I ever met.
Yes.
So that was really a life gift.
Yes,
in a sense.
I'm sure. And so you obviously, from your beginnings in your role in Paris and going to the Sorbonne, you've built up this global career of teaching, and you went to the Middle East and taught, didn't you? And then you came to New York and taught, and along with your husband, and was he in the same sort of line of work as you? I think he was, wasn't he?
Yes, my husband was also a physicist at that time. And luckily enough, we had other topics to discuss when we were, reunited as a family. So that was fortunately, that was for the best. But yes, we navigated our path between Europe, and then after that, 20 years in Africa, where we learned about other cultures, or the values, or the lenses to see the world, of course. And also to figure out, the large contrast between, I would say, continent where we have in Europe a very high praise on materialistic values, and in Africa, unfortunately, they are not having this kind of values because they don't have the means to have them, but instead they are focusing on more human values. And so it was a wonderful complement for us, and it was very enriching, of course. When my husband decided to retire, we moved to Dubai, when I was part of a brand new university focused on educating nationals to become leaders for the whole Middle East region. And that was a fantastic opportunity to know another culture, an Islamic culture, and with other type of lenses to see the same human values. And then after that, we moved to New York, when I was offered a position of global dean, when I was totally responsible for the financial operation, academic, and all the responsibilities for 6 campuses abroad. Actual brick and mortar campuses, 2 in China, 3 in the Middle East, and 1 in Canada. So as I said, sometimes the sun never set on my empire at that time.
No. I mean, but you see, I love your journey, because you've used your initial kind of your training, your skill set, to then move, into different cultures and different experiences, and that is then, when I ask you this question, what qualities do you think a professional coach should have? I mean, I've met coaches in my journey. I've met coaches. And I'll be honest with you, they didn't really have a background that really made me think you could coach me, because I just didn't have the experience that, somebody like yourself has got, which is deep experience in business and the different things that you've done. So what do you think are the qualities that a professional coach should have?
Well, I would say, there are different elements. I would say the basic, the minimum requirement for any coach would be really to help set goals and accompany leaders, in their journey to achieve them. So that is for me the bare minimum that any kind of executive coach should do. This is really what he has to do. But I would say, what is most important for me is making sure that you are the right sounding board for the executive you're coaching. Because we are not here to dictate or to mandate or to prescribe anything to the business leaders, but we are here to make sure that their ideas are sort of ping-ponged with us until they find and refine really their perspective on their strategies or their vision for their businesses. So being I would say an accurate and listening sounding board is very important to me. So that is that. I would say, of course, the experience you bring is also very valuable. And thank you for having mentioned that. Yes, my previous experience, my global experience, has nurtured me in my leadership coaching, because I can understand, the kind I experience firsthand, the kind of challenges, that people like yourself may have encountered. And so when you hear my perception from this sounding board seat that I'm having, then you have this dimension of trust, which is so important, between the coachee and the coach itself. Yes. And I would say another quality really is important is the emotional intelligence that the coach must have. He or she, of course, in this case, needs really to listen carefully. You're interviewing me, so I'm talking a lot. But exactly. But in my coaching, my pride is not to talk too much. It's really to listen deeply. Not only to what is being said to me, but what is behind what is said to me.
Yes.
And generally, the following up with a very deep and I would say to the point questions is really important to unveil what is really not said, in a sense. And this is how we can progress. That's emotional intelligence is really important, and it's also modeling something that I would love to see in every big leaders of companies and businesses, of course. Yes. And I would say that maybe the last thing is really a good executive coach should also provide this kind of a safe environment. It's a confidential space. Our client might be doing exactly what they want to do with us. There is no repercussion outside of this confined space of confidence that we are building together. And I think this is the most important, because leaders sometimes they feel so alone that they need to have this kind of space to just share, what they have really in their mind and in their heart.
Yes, building a business can be lonely, and you take that. I think you have to take that as part of the journey, really. So having people like a coach that you can lean on and share some of your concerns with, I see the value in that. I really do.
Yes, true.
So in terms of, obviously you've coached many people, and I'm sure you've been a mentor to numerous people in your life. What's been the most gratifying feedback that you've received from your coachees? Is that what you call them, or mentees?
Yes.
What's been great feedback for you?
Every client is a gift. For me, every feedback is a gift. I think this is so touching and emotionally. It's such an emotional experience when you receive a great feedback. Yes. And I would say it's not by ego, or it's not because it's patting me in the back. It's not about that. It's just because for me, it's the first-hand evidence of a transformation that have been part of, making sure that it happened, in fact. Yes. So that is for me what is very important. But maybe to illustrate a little bit something, and this is a feedback I received some time ago. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, and it has been something that just made me cry, really. I received a couple of years ago, yes, a message on LinkedIn from a person that I recognize vaguely the name,
Yes.
A person from Burkina Faso.
Right.
So, an African person.
Yeah.
And I recognize the name of this person as one of my former students when I was 30 years old, so a long, long time ago, in fact.
Yeah.
And he was sending this message to me. He was I'm quoting, but okay, it's just not maybe the exact quote, but it was about that. It was saying, I want to thank you so much for your teaching and tell you how much you have been appreciated not only by me but by all my peers in your classes when you were here in Burkina Faso, and because of you, we have built our future, and we will never forget what you have given to us. And it was something that I cried, because he attached a picture of me as a very young professor with this old class. He had put an arrow on his picture, on his, says, I'm here with a white shirt here. And also, he told me, and I could see on his CV that was on LinkedIn, so you had the whole profile. I could see that now he's one of the big executive in Total Energy, which is the biggest oil company in France, based in Paris.
Yes.
And oh my God, this is a guy, who was living in a slump, really, in Burkina Faso. Yeah. And I was so moved by seeing such a testimonial. This is something. Yeah. My educated heart was,
No. That's an amazing story, and I mean to see somebody's life change from
exactly
that abject sort of poverty into being a sort of a senior energy executive. What a transformation! And you played a part in that story, which was fantastic. Now, I mean, you've obviously traversed many places in your career. You've been headed up organisations, significant organisations. Do you think there should be more women in those sorts of roles, in executive roles? I mean, are we catching up, Patricia, do you think?
Well, that's a great question, my dear, because unfortunately there is still a long way to go.
Yes.
I think there are factual reasons for which women should be in more in executive roles in that case, and the factual reasons are really something which is not questionable. If you read all the various and recent studies from Standard & Poor's, for instance, okay, so this is very factual, as I say, you can see that when you have a female CEO or CFO in a large company, they generally they see the stock of this company increase by 20% in the first 24 months of their tenure. Which is, a fact, period. There's nothing less to say about that. You can say also that I'm just looking maybe at a couple of notes that I've prepared for that, but I can say that again, there was another study, I think from Harvard Business Review, and it said that in the past maybe a couple of years, there has been 1.8 trillion more gross profit in large company led by executive women, and it was more than the sector average. So that is something that, cannot be discussed. The presence of a female executive makes a difference. But the thing is that, yes, even, if a company with a great gender diversity policies are, in some of them in place. Unfortunately, it's not all across the board. And the thing is that very often you can hear this little musing saying, "Oh, we cannot hire. We would love to hire more female executives, but they are not. We are not finding a qualified candidate." Well, that's something that can be tweaked very easily, because in fact, in all the recruitment processes, there is no space for making sure that the gender diversity is addressed during the hiring process. And also, I would say there is no enough training, the same training that is offered to male very often. There's no enough training to, for instance, give more responsibilities in P&L actions, to females, so they can grow into that and being trained a little bit more to get access to the next role. Because those P&L job, for instance, responsibilities in a large job, they are generally offered to white male and not to female or not white men. So that is also, a factor that just prevent more female to access those executive roles.
Yes, the diversity requirement for business is ongoing, and with women making up, is it 50 or 51% of the population of the planet? And just happens to be my gender choice and my gender, but I think that 51% of the roles.
True, and you are totally right to point that it's not a US problem, it's not a European problem, it's a worldwide problem. You know a little bit of what happens in India from where you are in your own company, but I know that in India and in China there is maybe just 3% of female CEOs total compared to the whole population of CEOs. In Canada, there is only 1.5% female CEO. When you look at it's appalling.
Well, I think the message from that is that women like us who are striving to push ourselves forward, we're not alone, and it's our responsibility to mentor, support, develop, lead, coach other women coming up behind us. And I'm sure you're completely, diverse in your approach to coaching. But what a fantastic opportunity for women to be coached by you. Having done what you've done in your career, and women have to support women. That's my big thing in business, because that then starts to turn the tables naturally, without any axe to grind. So, okay, I'm glad we've talked about that. Let's talk about the different parts of the world and cultures. I mean, you've worked in, Europe, Africa, which must have been fascinating, Dubai, another fascinating culture, and then come to the States, and now you're based out of Orlando. What can we learn from these different cultures and just, becoming a global community? What can we learn, Patricia, do you think? What's the common denominator between all these communities, these cultures?
Yes, I like the word common denominators that you're using, because instead of opposing the different cultures, let's say between the US and Europe, for instance, we are not always trying to find, as you say, the common denominators and to build on that. This is where we should build, because when we are properly aligned with our personal values and culture, then we are offering the paths for a fantastic constructive processes that helps, our global businesses expand so much and so harmoniously. So what I noticed, and I'm not the only one to notice that, of course, but what can be noticed is that, for instance, in Northern America and in Europe, I would say the values that are very highly praised are, the caring, the results. Really, this is very important, and learning and safety is important as well. So this is something which is relatively shared in a sense. But what is differentiating a little bit those two is that in Western Europe, you rank probably higher authority and order. And in America, instead, you're probably doing more about purpose, and so that is slightly different here. But the thing which is shared, but on a sadly level, is enjoyment. Enjoyment is not raised, is not ranked that much in both part of the in those two continents. So instead of trying to oppose authority, order, and purpose, we should build more, about caring, results, and learning and safety, and build up so much more, the enjoyment part that we are not valuing so much in both culture. So that is something that we could really.
It's a very good way to look at it, because all of us, are going to be in work. If that's what we want to do with our lives. We're going to be in work for 40 years, maybe 50 years now, maybe longer in the future. And so I'm a great believer that you should enjoy what you do. You may have some tasks in what you have to do that you may not enjoy, but that's just life. But overall, you should enjoy your work, because it's a big part of your life. And you only get one life, right? So,
and I think it may change a little bit right now, because we can see with the younger generation, they are putting a little bit more emphasis on this purpose aspect of what they are doing, and also the enjoyment. They want not only to have purpose, but they want also to enjoy a little bit more. So I think things are changing for the best. But of course, like a pendulum, we are always going from one extreme to the other. So probably at some time we'll find a little bit better harmony between all these values.
Well, I think wherever you are in the world, enjoyment is a common theme that we should all work on as the human race. So in terms of executives and CEOs that you are coaching, and I'm sure that you're using all your empathic skills. You're encouraging these folk to enjoy what they do, and finding out if they are enjoying it, and what they do enjoy about their role. How do you think that coaching benefits senior people?
Well, I would say, and I'm talking basically about executives, people who are in deciding positions, with responsibilities here. What is interesting to notice, and I think we can see this kind of statement, on a regular basis here. What is interesting is that you have, those CEOs or community leaders, for instance, they are hired at this position to, lead a company, lead a business with a new vision, new strategies, etc. And then you can see that, maybe after 2 years or after 4, it's a couple of years, 2 or 3 years generally. And this is also supported by, sensible research from especially Harvard Business Review. You can see that they are failing. What does it mean, fail? It's because, in the first 18 months of their job, they have not succeeded to engage the company around their own vision. They have not succeeded to share their experience and bring everyone upward, but instead they have favored their egotistic nature, in a sense. They are, they have exaggerated confidence. Probably, and they have very often a leadership style which is really out of touch, and so because of those elements, who are not what I call the hard skills of a leaders, they are really failing. Meaning, when I say fail, you can see, for instance, one indicator being the stocks of the company just declining dramatically, etc. And it's interesting to see that every 1 in 5 CEOs are failing that way in the first 18 months of their tenure, which is appalling. This is such a waste of time, a waste of experience, a waste of energy. While, having those people stepping into this role, having them coach in a sense so they could really develop what they don't have, or they could, improve. That would be a fantastic gain for those companies, because 1 out of 5, 20% of them, that's a huge number, right?
So when these executives, it is a huge number. So when these executives come to you for coaching, you're gonna draw out of them, if they've got it, empathy and emotional intelligence. And I know these are skills and attributes that you want to see in leaders.
Right.
Do you think leaders have that naturally? I mean, is that something that you see, or?
Well, no, not exactly. I would say, generally people are opposing hard skills, which is really, how basically how you read your spreadsheet, your P&L and your stuff like that. And you're looking at the hard numbers and, and even your strategic planning and vision planning. Generally, they have that, okay, to a good or better extent, but they generally have a good foundation on that, of course, and this is why they have been hired. But generally, people oppose this kind of hard skills to what they call the soft skills, which I don't like too much, this term. I prefer to use the Simon Sinek denomination, which is human skills.
Human skills, that sounds good.
And right now, we are really discovering. It's not a discovery, but a lot more people are discovering that, in fact, those particular human skills are as much important to lead a large operation than the hard skills themselves. And so, for instance, having empathy, having emotional intelligence, having active listening, having, this kind of persona, or maybe executive presence, which is needed when you want to lead and engage, a whole team or a whole team of employees with you toward the same beacon for your company. That is something which can be learned, you can be coached for that. It's not always a given. Some people, they do have that. And that's wonderful. That makes them the leader they are, from the get-go. But, for most of the people, this is something you can train for. And this is where, an executive coach can help you as well on that.
Yes. Well, I think that's very good to know that it can be brought out of somebody, and you can be coached on it and you can develop it, particularly as a business leader where perhaps your business is, it's not shaping up the way you wanted, and there's a disconnect between you and your people, because my business only succeeds because of the people that I have, and over the years I've had to develop those skills of listening carefully to what I'm being told, and so I see the value of that. I really do, in terms of what you're doing.
Sure.
I'm sure some of the people that come and visit you and work with you as a coach are very senior, so it works across all types of businesses, though, isn't it? Active listening and being empathic with your people, so that you can deliver whatever it is you're in business for. That's important. So people will find you. We'll talk about your website and how to contact you later in a few minutes, but when they do find you, how do your services work for them? What is your process for onboarding a client? Yeah.
So I would say, first of all, I'm generally only working on referrals, meaning that I love to be referred by who I'm called, my ambassadors.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is really the best way to qualify, former clients, because they are my ambassadors. In fact, if they want to take on that role, and I thank you so much for doing that for me. And so this is how I can be reached. But of course, and I will give you my detail later today.
Yes.
But generally, when people call me or meet with me, they ask me, how do you work? And so I tell them, this is very simple. I have 3 questions for you. And that will be it. And then we will figure out. So my first question, is it about you within your organization that you are asking for some help? So if it's for you within your organization, so I can help you develop maybe your situational leadership capacity, which is important. I can help you increase your self-awareness. And, so balancing between the hard skill and the soft skills, as you can see. I can also help you to lead with a greater impact and a greater influence. I can help you strengthen your executive presence. And I can also maybe quiet your noisy mind, sometimes. It's important because we are so obsessed sometimes. So
I don't know what you mean, Patricia.
I can see it just rings a bell, right?
Yeah, it does ring a bell. A few bells.
So that's my first question. My second question, is it about your team? So if it's about your team, so I can serve, in helping the team decide and align around what is important and develop the agreement between everyone who wants to work together. So that's very important. Engage everyone together. So I can help you doing that. I can help you in shedding some light on, some sticky spots that may happen within a team. And so making sure that when those spots are exposed, we can address that up front and, head on. And I can also offer punctual or maybe longer term support when it comes for the team to work on a vision that has been already defined by the leader, and making sure that all the efforts are engaged toward this vision. So that is something I can do for the team. And my third question is it about personal coaching? Because as we mentioned, a little bit earlier, when you are at the top, you feel extremely alone, in fact, because you have all this craziness in your mind. When I say this craziness, you have a zillion ideas because you're a bright person. You are at the top of a large organization. So you know that you are a bright person. So you have a zillion ideas coming every day, every night sometime. And so very often you cannot share all these ideas. Out of these ideas, maybe only one is a great idea, but all the others are rubbish, and that's fine. But you have to do that. But you cannot really share all this craziness, if I may say, with people you are working with, because that would be a bit complicated, of course. Very often, the leaders cannot share these particular ideas or craziness with their family because they want to spare them from this craziness. It might have a negative impact, so they want to spare that. And very often they cannot even discuss those craziness with their friends. And really, because those days you never know what will land on social media or the like. So, so they feel alone. And they feel alone, and they need this sounding board to sort out all this craziness and find maybe the nugget that is worth pursuing. Yes. So that is really what I'm calling, the executive coaching for, as a personal coaching for the leader itself. And very often, when you are successful, success is scary. Very often. Because you are heading in the direction of your fear when you are successful.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And so there's a whole recovery process that needs to happen once you have achieved the steps of success.
Indeed.
So that are the three facets of what I'm doing, as an executive coach. And of course, I'm always discussing first. It may take a couple, or sometimes 3 or 4 previous discussion, to make sure that the prospect clients perfectly understand the kind of help I can bring, and also for me to make sure that I am able to bring exactly the kind of help is needed.
Yes.
So it's a mutual fit that we need to assess.
You've got to marry up.
Exactly.
However, you heard what I've said in the interview earlier. I mean, this is a person with enormous business experience and dealing with all types of people across the world. So I do think that in Patricia, there's a unique opportunity to meet a very senior exec in a coaching role who has the experience to back up what she's suggesting or guiding, or what do you call it when you actually get somebody you're directing them, you're kind of supporting them? What do you call that? How do you view that? You're guiding somebody as a coach, or what do you do? You're pulling out of them what they want to do, but what does that mean?
I would say I'm probably the Christopher Columbus.
The journey of discovery. Okay.
Yes, okay. The journey of discovery.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. Now, I know that your business is, you're busy in B&I. You've got some exciting projects. Do you want to share with my listeners what plans you have for the year ahead?
I'm sorry, I think I didn't hear that one.
That's okay. Do you want to share with our listeners what plans you have for the year ahead?
Oh, my plans. Well, I have many. I think I have a couple of speaking engagements coming up very soon. Yeah. One in the US and one outside of the US, in Europe, in Paris, in fact. So in a larger school, commerce school. So I'm very proud of that one too, because I can coach. As I said, I can coach in both languages. French and English as well.
I'm very jealous.
And I have also a couple of from a personal level. Yes, I'm starting to build a community also of out of the box thinkers, and I'm just starting. It's just starting. It started a couple of months ago. Every month now, I have on LinkedIn. The details are on LinkedIn, but I am offering 1 hour of leaders conversations around a given theme every month. Yeah. And it's just a free discussion among leaders around this particular theme. And sometimes, just sharing your ideas with others, rubbing your shoulders, with other leaders.
That's a great idea.
Exactly.
That. Yeah.
And I want to build ultimately a community of these leaders to have a more in-depth conversation, rather than just 1 hour. But I'm just starting, everything starts with a small step. So let's see how it works. Yes. And on a personal level, so I'm trying to check a couple of travels from my bucket list. And so that's always something I'm trying to do. And I also very thrilled to attend the first Human to Mars, the planet Mars summit in Washington, D.C. Next May. Because I'm how can I say? I'm passionate about space travel.
I'm right there with you. That is amazing. I want to hear all about that.
Yes.
Somebody in my this is a shout out to Ian Hawthorne. If you ever watch this conversation, Ian, his daughter is studying exoplanets in England at university, and what an amazing thing that is. So I'm totally into the whole space thing.
Okay.
Well, that's fascinating. And what's your closing message for emerging leaders?
Yes, I would say, all our future in their hands. So I would say they are, the potential disruptor of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this is really what they need to cultivate in themselves. They need to disrupt everything. Everything we know as certitudes that we have right now, we need really them to disrupt them and create something new. I would say to be the leader you really want to be, you just have to be real. You have to be yourself, and you have to find early enough, your measuring stick for your own life. And once you have found that, then you have to live your life to the full, but then when you will have successfully impacted the world around you, it will be on your own rule with your own metrics. And this is exactly the kind of message I would like to give them.
Oh, I love the idea of a measuring stick. What a great idea to take away from today. Great takeaway. All right. Well, thank you very much, Patricia, for your time today. Thank you for guesting on Shergroup on the Sofa. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Now, you have a website, don't you? What is your website that you want people to?
So my website is P Burlaud, PBURLAUD -consulting.com. And my email address is Patricia at PBURLAUD -consulting.com.
Okay, well, we'll put all your contact. You've got a LinkedIn as well. We'll put all that in the show notes for the YouTube today, so everyone will know. It will be in the information accompanying this program. So thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. It has been a great pleasure to be discussing with you, Claire.
And thank you so much. And for everybody else, staying with us on this episode of Shergroup on the Sofa, please come and visit us at shergroup.com. It's an absolute pleasure to meet in our journey and have on the sofa people like Patricia, who've got tremendous experience, which wherever you are in business, you may not be, a total energy executive. You may just be a one-man or one-person band somewhere in the United States, somewhere in the UK. But the things that we talk about, they can apply to any size of business. And what we want you to feel is that, we're sharing these ideas with you, and some of it will resonate with you, and some of it will be, no, that's not for me. That's fine. It just get the conversation going. Again, if you're a woman in business and you feel maybe that, you need support, please reach out to me. Please reach out to people like Patricia. I'll give you, some time to talk about what sort of situations you're facing, because we have been there in building our careers, and we want to support women, give back, and I know Patricia does. So, Shergroup itself, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, wherever. Wherever the team can build a channel, they'll build it. And that is because we want to meet and reach more people to talk about the issues that are important and real for business owners today. We want to help business owners, well, like Patricia said, get enjoyment out of being in business. You can enjoy going to work. It's not a crime. So please try and enjoy yourselves after this episode. Patricia, thank you so much. I know we'll meet again through BNI and other initiatives, conversations we're having, and we look forward to inviting you back again on the sofa in a little while and see how life is going with you. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've been honored to be interviewed by you, Claire, and thanks a lot.